Well, hello there, everybody. Dan jamming out to some Al Stewart. I tell you, dig that guy. Brings back some fantastic memories, if y'all know what I mean. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you for dropping in and turning on and tuning in. I hope wherever you are that it is a fabulous day for yourself and that you're living the moment to its fullest. That's the only way to do it. You know, guess you could say technically it's the future, baby. So treat yourself good. Give yourself a big hug and you know, enjoy the ride. What can you say? So again, thank you for dropping by and thank you for hitting the like button. Feed the algorithm. Yeah. Seems like we feed, they feed, who feeds off of each other? I don't know. What I do know is favor, speaking favor over us all. Can't get enough of it. Favor all the time. Be of service to others, you know, and nothing missing, nothing broken. So, again, thank you for dropping by. Hello, everybody in the chat room. Hello, Grandpa Brian. What's up? How's Luna? Uh, Lost in Space, Josh with Mr. Floyd's Universe, Kim, Robert Scott, good to see you. Scotty boy, much love to you. Odin, hello, what's up? DC, rain for Wayne. Yeah, yeah, we need it. Um, and it's interesting. The manifestation can be sometimes so subtle and not appear to be big at all, but actually it really is. Every boom, every explosion typically starts at some point, even on a microscopic level. Anyway, I believe we're having an effect because now in the forecast, there is rain. I think if we keep on this, we'll break this thing out where we'll be having rain here all the time. So thank you. Let's keep on doing it. So are we changing the future? I mean, if a future event was to keep it dry, let's just say, so metaphorically, um, that would be defined as someone's future, which we're living. But then we come along and we go, hmm, rain, wane, gently on the, you get it. And then that which was is now being imprinted by this small group's thoughts. I mean, did we change the future? Hello again, everybody in the chat room. What's up, Faith? Teddy, good to see you. Millie, what's up, darling? Uh, Lost in Space, what's up? Good to see you as well as he gets up here. John Price, hello, brother. Gilbert, what's up? Gaia and Paul. Kogo all the way from Croatia. Haven't seen him. Drum, good to see you. Favor. Barbara, what's up? Deborah, how are you, sweetie? Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, it's an interesting question because if you look at where we are right now, and what triggered this was the email chain, which is really quite interesting. I love it. It's a line of communication. But anyway, and seeing where individuals are channeling. Now, the implication on the future is huge. It's not insignificant because if the channeling is coming from a different realm, dimension, space, or time, then is that voice trying to change the future? I mean, It's big, really big. In fact, cheers, everybody. Hello, Rick. How are you, brother? Speaking healing over you. Jargo, what's up? Good to see you. By the way, Chris, saw your pictures. I want to show those to the rest of the group. I just want to make sure it's cool. There's some crazy stuff going on, The veil has been rent, you know, wide open. But getting back to channeling in the future. So, how do you define the future? If I was to ask you, and we're before a crowd, please give me a succinct definition of the future. What future, define future, what is that? And it's quite interesting when you do the epistemology of the word itself. And I found this interesting. So, this is the American Heritage Dictionary. The indefinite time yet to come. Hmm. You just had a job review. And so you're telling your supervisor that you're going to do better in the future. So the question becomes there, are you prophesying? Are you a prophet or a prophetess? Another definition, because it's, as a noun, something that will happen in time to come. Religions are all based on this. You have politicians, that are out there, making statements that they're trying to influence and change time. Interesting. A prospective or expected condition. Now, isn't that odd? Expectation. So, does expectation have a force that literally affects the future? And in which, if you define it in the terms that we're defining it, according to American Heritage Dictionary, we're talking about future time. So time, wow, could we can change time? Merriam-Webster's dictionary, I think this was interesting. The meaning of future is to be specifically existing after death. Well, that's interesting, because then it would say that there is they're synonyms, as the future is applying not to the present, but a future where you're dead. Everything about you, all your clothes, your jewelry, everything, it's gone. The Ravengers came in and took it. So how does the future then apply that? Well, you have religion that says, well, you unworthy thing, you know, you have to have this mediator, because if you want a future, and it's interesting because the common shared knowledge is that the future, death, is apparently either going to be pleasant, pleasurable, or painful, and anything but nice. I just think that that's so interesting that, the future applies to death. And I guess in a sense it does, right? But they want you to fall into a belief that, it's going to be this either or. Anyway, I just found that interesting that we have so many different ideas of what the future is, but in reality, there is the intellectual world that defines the so-called fabric of reality. So the future is death. What did Sarah Connor say? The future is not set. Then that would imply that the future in context apparently exists in the astral realms, the spirit realm, the ethereal realm, however you want to define it. Because it would appear, unless time doesn't have impact there, but there's enough evidence that would suggest that in the spirit realm, time, there is a thing called time. There's a thing called spirit time. I was in a lecture decades ago, and it was described as they're about, so, and these are approximations, but they're about, depending on what level, anywhere from possibly a minute to potentially a year or more in the future already. And that the time differentiation, the dilation of time itself, as time is also affected by the density of matter, that as time is weighed down by the density of the force of matter, that it has this tendency to slow down. We all have an eternal clock, and it's all synced. We're all synced to that same rhythm. All of us are. It's an amazing thing if humans would only begin to realize, well, the hybrids, that one of the most amazing thing about us that we possess is that it's something that we share universally. And that is we all have this same time mechanism. Now, when death comes, no matter how it comes, whether suddenly or slowly, it does come, that transition is going to be impacted. And that's part of the adjustment, is that you're now at a higher frequency, your spirit, your soul, however you want to define it. And the body cannot support that. And so typically when the body dies, there is this change. Now, it's interesting because it then defines that if there is something in the future that is trying to communicate with what would be essentially us talking to ourselves in the past, or leaving the message in the bottle, right? You make a recording of yourself, this right where you are at, and 10 years you play that. So understanding how this time dilation works, that you could send yourself a message to the future. So if that's happening on a spiritual realm, that ethereal realm, dealing with time, then that would imply that the possibility of a place that wouldn't be impacted by time. What would that look like? And so getting back to the channeling thing, we all channel. All of us do. It's that most people have never been taught that it's channeling. If you pray, you're channeling. If you meditate and are sending out thoughts and looking for contact, and that's channeling. I do it all the time. You do too. And the thing about it is, it's not that difficult to tune into a frequency and have them speak to you. I like what the fact that, everyone's sharing in this chain. And it's when I see these things, I'm going, but that's nothing new. We did it in the charismatic church when the move of the Holy Spirit, the last one that happened, where you got anointed, baptized in that energy called the Holy Spirit. She brings gifts. It's just what she does. And you already have the propensity in you right now as to excelling in one or more of those particular gifts. Now, I would speak a word, you can call it a word of knowledge, specifically, exactly that's what it is. So if you're used in the gift of knowledge, that means that you have within you the ability to talk to spirits. And you open yourself up to that. And for myself, I would hear it. It was just like it was coming in, through your ear canal, but this is different. It's inside, but you can hear the words. You can hear it. And then I would just merely repeat what was being said, and it would be confirmed. There's the expression, let everything be confirmed in the mouth of two or more witnesses. That's how we get canon law, etc. But anyway, did it all the time. We talked about this if you were used in the gift of prophecy. So prophecy, what is prophecy then? Isn't prophecy be equated to the future? So if you're speaking of events that you're hearing from another source, and it's telling you that this is going to happen. Now, the question becomes, well, number one, the source, is it reliable? Has it been tested to be, to be shown to be true? Because, there are lying spirits. But so that word of prophecy spoken by a layman or someone occupying an office in the ministry, what are they doing? I mean, aren't they technically trying to change the future by telling you what the future is or an event in the future? I mean, technically, they're trying to alter the future. And the question becomes, would the event happen if it hadn't been prophesied? In other words, if no one had spoken it, would it have come to pass? And then you've got this thing of layers of future. Because if there is, in fact, this huge master plan, and that within that sphere there are innumerable futures that can be affected, altered, changed within the construct of that sphere of influence, but the bigger sphere doesn't really care because it ultimately either knows or doesn't know at all. Makes the adventure far more exciting, doesn't it? But yet, we as a species, we seek those who can see, called seers. There is a conspiracy theory, if you want to go down that road, of a council that are controlled and plugged into this all-seeing eye. And that this all-seeing eye sees everything. Now, my question is, that's why they never accept me. is that, okay, so if it's an all-seeing eye, is that telling me that it knows the future? I don't think so. I think it's trying to alter the future by having me and a couple other billion of my closest friends and associates, right? You, um, to believe it. Because once we seem to believe it, that belief in itself alters the future. I contend that this future that we're in right now is not the right future. This is not the right timeline. This is not the place where Earth, Mother Earth, and humanity is supposed to be at. There is a different reality, a different future than this one. We should not be at the crossroads of what we are at right now. That tells me that something greater than man itself is influencing and manipulating the future. Now, that gets pretty well. Number one, it's unsettling, to say the least, that something of that greater, and isn't that the purpose of what and when I came out of my religion, that's what God was all about. God was omnipresent, omnipotent. He knew everything. He was everywhere at the same time. And you break that down, and so what you're saying is that apparently this is a being that seems to be bipedal, seems to be more human than divine, but has the ability to transcend time. And as powerful as it says it is, it seems that it has to speak of a future that it says is going to happen. There's no evidence or proof that that's the case. And just because you happen to claim yourself as God and you're going to say, well, this is how it's going to be, you've already influenced it. I mean, the dice are counterweighted, you know? They're rigged. Because the question becomes, if we had never known of a future, that we only live in the present, in the moment, so how would that then affect, let's say, in a business acumen, writing business plans, doing projections, divine development of new product, etc. Now, let's say you plan for that, right? But let's say that plan never happens. So what's happening there? Is there a greater force, an altering force that overrode your force and forced you out of business, forced you out, etc.? You get human beings that are bifurcated in their belief system, and through that schism of that bifurcation, that they can never come into agreement. Now, how can a future unfold when you basically have no agreement as to what a potential future would be, other than the competing parties' ideas are trying to project a future within this structure that doesn't really seem to really care? Indeed, if there is a cycle to everything, then the future is meaningless because it's already predetermined. And you can have the trillions of individual stories taking place within the cycle, but it really doesn't matter. It's still a cycle. And if we say it's a cycle and cyclical in its nature, then the future is already set. Because no matter what you and I do, no matter what our species does, no matter what Earth does, it doesn't matter. We're all in this cycle. I mean, that's one of the things always troubled me in my former religion, is that this deity apparently had a list of those, and it's a whole schism within the belief structure of predeterminism, meaning, and I can actually see the exact quote that Paul wrote on that, that there are some that are just screwed. Doesn't matter what you do, you're fucked. You came in screwed, you're going to leave screwed. Because that's what it says. It says that some have been chosen and others have not. Then it talks about even a further group. Well, that really sucks. And that reminds me, you get back to Jacob and Esau, this God said, Jacob I hated before he was born, Esau I loved. I mean, yeah. Um, so how can you, it was Jacob, excuse me, it's very odd. So, I mean, for me, this is like a rigged game. They say I can win 95% of the time. They just don't say how the win happens, right? And they don't, give you, it's ambiguous because you don't know what time is. Who's predetermining the time? And it just sounds to me like it's rigged. Because every belief system that's out there is trying to manipulate and change time, the future. I mean, the future is set, and that's just, to me, that's the problem I have with reincarnation. You've got this process that really, when you look at it, doesn't make any sense. And so, by the very action of the effect is going to be predetermined by what was already happening, the future. They talk about every leader, and particularly with Trump. There is the group of people who, have read the book, that came out, I think, in the 1900s. Someone will remember the title of it. But anyway, it predicted that Trump would be the last president of the republic. The United States is not a democracy, it's a republic, as Rome was, as Greece was. Democracies they all fail. And when these empires go from the republic to democracies will always fail. And again, isn't it odd? Because if you follow a path that says that the path will lead to a destination, so you make a decision and you choose an alternate path, right? But it's going to lead into a different destination. So does that then redefine the future? Because now the future is going to be set on a preset of conditions as a result of your decision. And again, getting back to channeling. So you can channel right now. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. There are those that are better at it because, again, practice makes better. I mean, if you don't exercise, your muscles will stop growing and stop you know, getting the definition. It's the same thing of using your talents and abilities. And sometimes you have to overcome the fear of, well, what if I mess up and say that? That's not the point. It's like when I was a kid, I was up at Camp Peniel up outside Marble Falls, Texas. And anyway, um, back then Marble Falls was just a small Texas hill country town, and there was Marble Falls where this river had comes in and it formed this beautiful pool because they can get hot there in that hill country. And my point to is you could climb up the side of this cliff, and it was, as I can recall, probably about a good 25 feet, and you could jump off and into the water. And you could see in certain kids, I was one of those kids, it's like you survived beatings that almost killed me. Move over, man. I'm going to, and you jump off, and kind of faith is like that same way. You just have to step off the cliff and not really be all that concerned about, hitting the water. It's going to be fine. You're going to love the feeling. You're going to love that feeling you get in your groin as you're getting down there. I mean, that's why you do it, you know. But getting back to channeling, any one of us here, Josh, Mr. Floyd, he channels a number of deities. I channeled this thing called the Holy Spirit. As I look back at now, probably was a number of spirits that were coming through. They were just using the auspiciousness of the office, or what we would call that in this case, where that Holy Spirit has dominion, and others can come within that dominion and speak. That's why they, it's interesting in some religions where they teach not to do that. You're not supposed to communicate with the dead. Well, that implies that this spirit realm is just everyone's dead there. That's a we've talked about that. That's a messed up realm. Not to say we're not. Um, Hello, consciously aware. Good to see you. Uh, Floyd says, "Can you automatically write or text?" I don't know if I can or can't. I haven't ever did. Was never my particular calling. But getting back to the fact again, um, getting off track on that when I look at that. Uh, so to channel, I mean, if you pray, who the hell are you praying to? You're talking to God, right? Well, if you're talking to God and God answers you, then you are channeling. If you write a holy book, you're what? Automatic writing? Are you channeling the words? Yeah. So it seems like we can do this. I often wonder why, and just on a little sidetrack here, is that no one has ever seen one of the original books. No one. So no one knows what is really being said is true and authenticated. No one knows. And it's interesting because if there was this deity that was talking through these men's, right, mind, I wonder, why has it stopped talking? I mean, for 2,000 years, it has nothing to say. I mean, if it was all knowing, wouldn't it realize that there would become a point in the natural development and evolution of the species, sapien or sapiens? No one has ever told me in any theology or philosophical. So what was Adam? Lucky, I saw your thing. He said, well, maybe he was a Neanderthal. Well, if he was a Neanderthal, he ain't here no more. The strange thing is that we as a species, we were the smallest group as a subgenus of Homo, meaning man, um, and yet we eliminated them. I mean, their species, they were wiped out. And we were the dominant species. Now, I don't know. Was that always the future? That those other, genuses of man, that they were destined to be extinct? And is that our future? Because the book says that is our future. We will become extinct. That's why you got to watch your ass and kiss the ass in order to get past the ass that lives in heaven. Otherwise, you're going to be shut out. There'll be gnashing and wailing of teeth. It's like, I don't think so. And I got to see how the chat room. How is everybody in the chat room? But these are the things that are for real. Let me see. I want to go. Let me pull this up. Well, there we go. So, and this kind of falls in line of where. So now that I got that, I can go over here. Ta-da! So speaking of the future, I have a couple of interesting documents here. So this one here is by Hamish McRae, The World in 2050. That's a short 25 years from now. So my question to you, as things stand right now, today, October 24th, 2024, or at least that's what they tell us. So what will the earth look like in 25 years from today? Do you think it's going to be like it is now? When you get of a certain age, you begin to have a certain advantage over the younger generations coming up. Because, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. There we go. Something's in the air. So I can look back with clarity. 50 years, 25 years, not a problem. I marvel to see how much the world has changed in 25 years. And I've been a part of that. Computers, the internet, yeah, artificial intelligence, social media. I'm glad I didn't have social media when I was coming up through the ranks, as they would say. Damn glad I didn't have it. Didn't miss it, didn't care about it either. It was like, how can you care about something that you don't know about? But I'm glad that there wasn't there. So anyway, so what's going to look like in 25 years? Is it ugly? Is it based on current reality? Whatever reality is, we've talked about that. And so here is a short book that he wrote And I think it's interesting. Um, it's better to travel hopefully than arrive. I like that. So let's just look at some stuff here. So, the structure, future events, a framework for thinking about the future, starting with a look backwards in time, then some conventional economic forecast, explaining five major forces for change, a conclusion with the principal risk to a broadly optimistic outlook. Well, if the Deagle report had any authenticity to it, 2025, according to that future, is going to be dismal. I mean, you're talking the death of nearly 2.5 to 3 billion people. Now, they say that there's 8 billion. I still don't know where this is. You know, the rumor was back when I was really into biblical prophecy, it was in Luxembourg because they have the beast there. The beast is this computer. For me, if the beast exists, and I've seen pictures of supposedly where this is located in Luxembourg, that the beast is AI. It was the one that began to assimilate all humans. It was the one that had no others. Well, maybe or maybe not, who knows? But that then began to build out advanced algorithms. So, anyway, so supposedly this beast knows every human on the earth. I have my doubts on that, but when I want to know who is the guy with the clicker, because you have to do, you know, the ones coming in and then balance the balance sheet to, you know, reconcile with that's coming out and that which is leaving. Anyway, so they're talking about a potential future. And remember, the Deagle report, you know, for America, you know, 220 million people are going to die. That's a bad day. So in this book, in this quick article, he comes in with 2,000 years of economic history, pioneering the work of Angus Madison, highlighted by the nomination of China and India. The Industrial Revolution changed everything. And if you think about this, yeah, the Industrial Revolution did change everything. It advanced man from where we were, I would say, Stone Age, you know, 1.2, where suddenly we advanced into the modern era, uh, you know, 1.0. And then how that began to change everything. I read an article today that says, man, in all of our progress and development, where we have arrived now, where the world is now making where every human being can be stoned. And they put the Stone Ape 2.0. That because technology certainly isn't making us smarter. Yeah. Think about your own memory. Again, us old schoolers, you know, working up through the corporate ladder, you know, sales and marketing. Sales is, and particularly when you're selling intangible products, like I was selling, you know, post-production services, um, and you have, you know, your benchmark each month. You know, you have to bring in. It was interesting. Mine was I was fortunate in many ways because I had a pretty rich client base, but $3 million is hmm. Anyway. I digress. Um, as you and I completely looking back on this on the memory, you see, memory. we all had the golden Rolodex, right? You could remember 50 numbers, not a problem. Yeah. Once you learn the technique of how to recognize a face to the name, you know, you had and that's why business cards were so, important. And you would, particularly if it was a client or a hot prospect, yeah, they don't do that anymore, do they? Anyway, and it's really interesting. I had not considered this, but you look at China and India and how they've become these economic forces on the world stage. The whole thing about BRICS. All right. So if BRICS is successful and BRICS um, is the new monetary standard that they're going to, it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and now they have so many more countries that are converting over that because the advantage on the BRICS system is that it's backed by physical gold, whereas the dollar is fixed on a float by perceived value. Yikes. But in any case, in this one here, isn't it interesting that China was a leading economic force uh, 200 years ago? It's interesting how time is. Anyway, this one goes through very detailed how the future is going to be dictated by that which was the past, China. Now, that has huge implications for the future because if you're an economic superpower, your political influence, your ideology influence will begin to spread. And now China is set up to directly compete against the US, Russia, India, and the others uh, on a world currency. At the current rate, the dollar will not have the ability to be sustained. And if the American dollar collapse on the world market because it's no longer the default currency to which instead of petrodollars, it's greenbacks. And if that has now changed, if you're in the US and others that use the US currency, we're screwed. Big time. That's all I got to say. Is that a future? Well, it's very possible. And here it talks about the BRICS revolution. This is a big deal. Once this is done and it's already complete, and what I mean by that is the backbone. Um, yeah, that would have implications of big freaking changes for us. And it goes on anyway. I won't bore you with the details. There is another one here talked about the future of humanity, and this is quite interesting as well as that. So where are we going to be? I mean, everyone is in this freaking alternate state of mind about the election. And you have both sides screaming, one particularly just making crazy stuff. All I can tell if I was to advise one campaign is that you need to fire your advisors. You can't attack opponent merely on personal basis and think that your version of the future is going to sell. Doesn't work that. People need details. That's all I'm going to say. That the strategy that's being used would fail in an investment forum. They'd laugh your ass off. Well, you'd never get up on stage. You would never actually pass the first preliminaries. But anyway, I digress. But everyone is freaked out about this election. And in a sense, the future has already happened. In other words, there's only one of two possibilities in this case, where in the US is concerned. One political party or the other is going to win. I don't know which one. And you can make a prediction, but again, are you not trying to influence the future? Well, sure. This is exactly what we're doing. So again, the future is like seems to be this seems to be made of a substance that no matter how you turn it, even the most minute little bit, and it brings in to focus a different aspect of the picture itself. And each different aspect of the picture is a alternate future. And so we can essence, I did in fact, it's right over here. Um, Remember when I did on Project Aquarius? This is the document of supposedly um, the spacecraft that we have shot down, we've captured. Um, Apparently, in one of those ships that we captured was a device called the looking glass device. And I showed you in a PowerPoint the detailed drawings that supposedly of the individual who met this alien. Um, and apparently how they view the future and how we view the future are on two different universes. We're not even in the same solar system, the same galaxy. But anyway, we had captured this device and we didn't know what and how it works. But apparently, they eventually began to reverse engineer it enough to where they figured out what the device was and how it worked. And the story goes that you can have, and it's made for one person, and it's this encasement of this device. And once you get connected to the device, it shows you an unlimited future. You can see all potential possible futures through this device. And the story goes, and you can go into the archives and watch that apparently someone in the military, someone in the military industrial complex, someone within CIA, I don't know. But they apparently latched onto a future again, which is not our future. And the background story is that these species from other star systems are here, not all, but some, trying to repair the damage that when we caused it, sapiens, however you want to look at it, um, we damaged the future. We're in a place where we're not supposed to be in. And they're trying to fix it. So anyway, that's the background of the story. So, and here's another one. This is by Deloitte. This was another interesting one. This was from a conference back in 2020. So they were looking at now a post-lockdown pandemic future. And it's interesting how they began to see the future. It is said that the lockdowns that the world went on altered a timeline. And part of the reason, and I'll get out of this, I hope you found that somewhat of interest. I do. That when you brought the world to its knees, that changed us. There was something psychically in our psyche that, that we're connected to in this collective consciousness, but it changed. Some contend that that shutdown altered our future. We somehow jumped a timeline. And I went back on my notes this morning, and it was interesting because the reported accounts now of people now making the claim that things in their reality, it's still it looks like the same reality, but it's the small things that are changed, is accelerating. Because there are things going on in the world right now that don't make sense. Because rational human beings wouldn't do that to themselves. But nevertheless, in this timeline, and it's like certain, apparently timelines are very sticky. You can get really stuck in an alternate timeline, an alternate aspect of reality. Just my take on it. Again, so is something messing with us, our future? Did we do it to ourselves? Did we fracture something that, we've broken certain laws of certain physics that we don't have any comprehension about? I mean, there is some thought that we have been pushed technologically so fast, so quickly. I mean, it took us 7,000 years to figure out how to supposedly make a combustion engine. 7,000 years that apparently no one figured out what oil was, fossil fuels. Depending on how you look at it, 7,000 years to figure out this thing called electricity. I mean, think about it. And so, particularly within the last, I'd say 200 years, something has pushed us so far, so fast, that is affecting us. So did something purposely manipulate us in the whole fabric of time, space? Is there a reason? Is it maybe that they want this planet? Planets apparently like ours are very, very rare out in the cosmos. And although they may have the ability, but there may be a law that says you can't just simply come in and wipe the planet out unless they do it to themselves. I don't know. Some have the theory that the God of the Abrahamic covenant is an alien God that intruded into this space-time, this planet, did not have the authority to do it. And that this set off a chain of event because we think 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years are a long time, where there are much longer lived species. That's nothing at all. Anyway, hope you've had fun with this. I did. It's quite interesting. That's all I've got to say. Well, all the world is a stage. Yeah, but the question then becomes, when I think so, something is pushing it. I think so too. But Rick, who wrote the damn play? It's like, wait a minute. Where did I volunteer for this? But apparently we did. Hello, Stephanie. Breaking galactic laws. Yeah, something on that line. Absolutely. Steven says de-evolution. Yeah. We're not advancing. Our bodies can't handle it. I mean, some of the crap that's happening, that you just don't talk about on this platform, that it's just you're going, okay, sure, there's nothing to this. Oh, a bunch of conspiracy. Uh, you're welcome, Susie Q. Well, thank you. This is what it is, Lady Ellie. Thank you, darling. Um, Mary Wins, how are you? All roads lead to Rome. Yeah. But Mary, where did they lead before Rome? It's like, yikes, I tell you, something just ain't right. Hey, Gilbert, what's up, brother? Pamela, good to see you. Um, Everything inevitably evolves. Yeah. The question is as well, these is that evolve into what? I mean, bipedals. Who'd have thought? Well, thank you, Deborah. Much love to you, darling. Scotty boy, have a good one. So I'm not going to be doing a show tomorrow. Got things I got to do. Primarily, I'm going to go vote, and so going to get it over with. Lost in a Place says simulation theory getting thick. Ain't it the truth? Grandpa Brian, right back at you. Give Luna a big hug. The doctor, how you doing? Thank you, sir. Much honored. Operation Crossroad. I explored Doc spirits and will do in the future. Yeah. I'm not sure what color my spirit is. I know my nature is to sing, so, we'll sing in the sunshine. Hey, Nina, have a great weekend, everybody. Yes, tune in to her show there on Sundays, along with Robert V's, I think, on Saturday. So there with Milky Way Soul Tribe. Dragon, what's up? Dan Vegans. The Vogon, yeah. Ain't that the truth? Got that. Misinformation, hologram world. Yeah, ain't it the truth? Right back at you, Lost in Space. So anyway, Grace, much love. See you Sunday night. Bonnie, what's up, girl? Joyce Marie. So, Stephen, have a great weekend as well. And I'll enjoy it. Paul Joe, right at you. I mean, it's good food for thought. Because they're jacking with us. That's all I've got to say. All right, folks, much love to you. Again, have yourself a fabulous weekend. Fall is about to fall. And so go out and enjoy it. Hopefully, the leaves are changing. Rick, right back at you, brother. Right back at you. Uh, Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. New, what's up? I got four of the. Excellent. Yeah, I was going to wear that today. Yeah, it was on my list. Uh, so smile everyone. It's a very cool Robert Scott right back at you. So yeah. Well, thank you. Voiceover by Stephanie Marie. I like that. Got that voice. Yeah. All right, folks. I will see you again on Monday. That's the plan. All right.